Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope everyone is doing all right. Where do we start? Where do we start? I guess let's go through. Let's just go through markets first. Let me bring up the charts. So stocks still feel pretty strong to me. It was indeed a new all-time high for the S&P 500, which is now hit an even newer all-time high today. So yeah, I mean, look at this chart, just fucking crazy. Just full price discovery for the S&P 500 in August, which is not something I had on my bingo card, but here we are. Nasdaq kind of not doing as well. There's definitely a bit of sogginess in some of these big tech names, isn't there? Some stuff doing well, some stuff struggling. So we're not quite matching the same. We haven't hit new all-time highs in Nasdaq yet. I think we got almost to 31k, didn't we, back in June? It is earnings season, I guess. So there is a bit of volatility around people reporting numbers, etc. But yeah, if we continue this idea of sell strength, then these levels are technically good levels to take chips off at, I guess. I don't think it's a bad place to de-risk here from stocks. Like, it was good to add risk here, and if you've ridden stuff up to here, equivalent versus depending on what stock you own, it's not really a bad place to de-risk, in my opinion. Look, SpaceX reported earnings overnight. I have no strong view on the numbers. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert or have a good touch on what the market is expecting from SpaceX numbers. However, let me just make sure the stream is live. Yep. However, so we went long into that for earnings, for expecting a pump ahead of unlocks. We kind of did get a pump, like I think most of my prints were around 108, 109. It went all the way to 125. This was the point to sell, really. I was up like 250% on those calls. I could have monetized everything here. Obviously, I didn't, as has been the story of my life in the last few days. But, the trade, I stuck to the guns. The trade was, let's wait until earnings and see if any announcements come. And then, sort of like a non-event post-earnings, really. And then we retraced that last big candle that we saw last week. So that's what that we saw yesterday. So I'm out of SpaceX now. I think I sold everything I had at 110-ish on the stock, so kind of close to the lows of the day. But for me, it was just a trade into earnings. I told myself I'd be disciplined about getting out after earnings no matter what, and that's what I've done. I've left a little bit of money on the table, but not the end of the world. Got quite lucky on the calls. On the calls, somehow managed to sell these at let's refresh this. Somehow managed to sell these at 2.3. It's pretty mental. Like, these are basically probably going to zero, and right after I print, they dropped all the way down to 75 cents. So I don't know how I managed to sell them there and basically only lose about $3 grand on that trade. Could have made about 10 grand. It was just a small punt, really. But I was kind of hoping they would smash numbers and it would go to 140, 150, and I would have made a good chunk of money there. But that wasn't the case. It was very clearly not the case. So I just got out of it literally first thing this morning. I had limit orders set down to 2, and I somehow managed to sell at 2.3, which is insane. So I got a little bit lucky there. I saved myself a few grand. But that's that for me. That's the end of the story on SpaceX. I'm not gonna sit here and try and trade it. Don't really have a strong view on it in the short term. Unlocks start tomorrow. It's a large amount of unlocks, you know. I wouldn't short it into unlocks. I know people were asking about that in our Discord. But I definitely wouldn't short it into unlocks. There's a 26% short interest, as we spoke about yesterday. So I just think it's, you know, you don't always have to trade something, right? You can also have no trade in it. I had no trade in this a few days ago. So I think once you start trading something, you kind of get emotionally attached to the story, and then you feel like you need to keep trading it, and then go short and long and all this kind of stuff. And I think it's important to just define what the trade is, let it play out, then you monetize it, profit or loss, and then you move on. And that's basically what I've done. And I think I'm relatively flat on that. So we move on from SpaceX. I also got out of Tesla. I had bought the dip post earnings. You know, I definitely bought that too early, and it dropped further, kind of got back to basically flat for me, so I just decided to take that off. I think SpaceX and Tesla are kind of similar-ish bucket. So yeah, no strong views on that, and I just decided to get rid of it. See, this number's wrong here. I need to get Claude to look into this. Not displaying my all-time P&L correctly. What else in stocks? Today is a big day for memory because of SanDisk numbers. SanDisk is down a little bit today. Interestingly, Micron is outperforming SanDisk. Micron's been heavy, I think, or has definitely underperformed in the memory category in the last few days, as has SK Hynix. I mean, we saw some big moves yesterday, and this was only up 6% again yesterday. So, although it has sort of, we've now kind of like retraced the drop from that initial pump, which is good to see. But yeah, this and Micron have sort of lagged. It's interesting to see Micron perform well today. So there's obviously some buying of risk, or maybe short covering ahead of SanDisk numbers. They report today. You know, I really thought about, and I am still thinking about. This was a trade into earnings, right? It was a trade into earnings, but I also got a really good print buying it around here. 1,090, I think, is my average. 1,080, I think, is my average cost. So I'm up about 33% on it, something like that. And it is tempting to take some off. It's a relatively meaty position size for me. 140k, but you know, like this will move with it. Micron will move with it. So it is tempting to kind of take some chips off. You know, if you look at AMD, which had good numbers. I'm not in the weeds on this one, but it's actually kind of reversed. This was down 10% post market yesterday, and now I guess it's kind of. I guess this is still down, isn't it? Versus yesterday's close, but yeah, good numbers still seem to be getting sold. If we go by some of the more recent earnings prints, so I don't know. The gambler in me wants to just hold it and run it. The disciplinarian in me says I should take some profits because I just keep round tripping and haven't monetized anything for a while. But I just kind of feel like I want to gamble on it. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to think about it. But I'm likely to hold and just gamble because it's more fun, basically. And that's it for stocks, really. I don't know. Eli Lilly reports today. I'm not really. Mando's quite deep in that. I haven't really been following it, so I'm not gonna I'm not going to take a position on it, and I'll just stick to this stuff. But yeah, I'll be eagerly awaiting the SanDisk earnings later today. Let's move on to crypto and PONS and that kind of stuff, because I think that's a bit more interesting today. So, PONS launched V2 yesterday. For me, look, this is how I'm viewing it, and let me explain my line of thinking. And I bought more PONS yesterday after the V2 announcement, which should show up here. Yeah, there we go. I added decent amount, actually. I think it takes my holding to just over 5 million tokens, which is 0.5% of the supply. So it's become a pretty decent sized position now for me, PONS. But here's what I think. My concern and my worry, as I mentioned yesterday, was that V2 would take longer to launch. And with tech issues, dev stuff, you never really know how long these things take to fix. Right? We've internally had that experience of like, oh, this is a quick fix, and you start fixing it, then it takes ages. So I think the fact that it was done relatively quickly and done yesterday, and there hasn't been any hiccups since the launch yesterday, is really bullish. It shows, I think, that the dev team is capable. I saw commentary on X about it being soft rug and all that kind of stuff, and eventually going away. That's clearly not going to happen. They've shown they're going to continue to work on it and build it. So for me, it was actually a really big positive that this was they got this over the line and done, because it changed the story from shit, I'm really worried that every day that passes without V2 launching, this is going to drift lower, which would have happened, to okay, that's now done, and anyone who said it wasn't going to happen, they're now wrong. So the other reason why I think we're not quite back to, not back to all-time highs, but also not back to maybe higher than where people think we could be, is because of this Uniswap pools.trade thing. So this is we don't know what this is yet. It's 46 minutes until it launches, and I guess we'll find out at the end of the stream. Maybe I'll keep it running a bit longer so we can spend 2 minutes on it. But trade pools. So there's a lot of commentary on this on X, and people seem to be speculating that that it could be a launchpad. I guess there's commentary of coins already being launched on it. And I think one of the reasons why PONS is not taking off is because people are worried that this Uniswap thing comes and it becomes another competitor, and obviously Uniswap's Uniswap, so it's a big player, and I think that's holding it back a bit, and there's definitely a lot of commentary on X to that. Look, if Uniswap was a direct competitor, I don't think they would be so active in co-marketing PONS, right? Like, see if I can find the tweets. These devs are literally just like are pushing PONS. They've had a lot of co-marketing with them. We had Ozzy, the founder of PONS, on our show last week, and he spoke about working closely with them, and they've been a great help and all that. So I just think you see comments like tweets like these, right? Uniswap is about to launch their launchpad, blah blah blah. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some weakness across launchpad stuff, blah blah. Like, we've already kind of seen this weakness, I think. But I don't know. Like, would you be, if I was launching something that's a competitor to other people, would I be co-marketing with them? No, I wouldn't. And my hunch, and it's called pools.trade. Like, that doesn't sound like a launchpad to me. It sounds like something that's a liquidity pool. .trade makes it feel like it's something different. So my hunch, and I could be wrong, I don't know anything, I don't know. And again, like I said, people are saying there's coins that have been launched on it, but my hunch is it's more of an an infrastructure thing than just like a direct launchpad, and it's something that bolts onto, or something that these launchpads can build on top of and integrates with them. And that would explain why Uniswap and PONS have done a lot of co-marketing. It would explain if I'm still looping, by the way, please let me know, guys. I don't know. Hopefully it shouldn't be, but let me know if the audio is still looping or laggy. But yeah, I just yeah, you know, like Jupiter, Meteora, that kind of stuff. I've seen a lot of commentary on comparing it to Meteora. So this is pure speculation. They may just come in. It might just be a fucking launchpad. Who knows? It may be something different. It's probably going to be something that the average person on X doesn't understand. And I wouldn't be surprised if the guys who are saying, "Oh, this is a launchpad," and they bring this something that isn't a launchpad, they may come and say, "Oh, this is just another launchpad," etc. Again. But my hunch says it's not, and there are obviously people out there who know what it is. So, you know, the Uniswap team knows what it is, right? There are probably other people out there who know what it is, but I just think it's. I just don't think Uniswap are launching a vanilla launchpad. Let me put it that way. Call me crazy, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't think Uniswap are coming to launch a vanilla launchpad competitor to all these guys. I would be very surprised to see that. And maybe I end up being surprised later on, but I would be very surprised to see that. But if it becomes apparent that it's not that, and it's something that's a bit more obvious that it's not, then I would expect this to rally off here. And we've had, you know, we were pushing that like 28 level earlier. We then sold off again. But I think this guy, EB7, Eric, who's I think pretty good trader, he's sharp on this stuff. He says, if they reveal a full-on launchpad, wait for the first runner and going hard. I agree with that. There's probably going to be a trade if it's a launchpad and there are coins on it. You want to go in hard on the first runner. If it's not a full launchpad, go hard in on PONS. And I agree with that. I agree with that too. And that's good. Like, seeing someone like him say this means there are probably other people who have the same idea. And so I think this could be. I didn't have my thing up here. This is what he said. He said, "Here's how the Uniswap launch works. If they reveal a full-on launchpad, wait for the first runner, go in hard. If not, go hard and on PONS." And yeah, it makes me think there's maybe some capital waiting to buy this. And we're going to find out in 40 minutes to buy this if it's not just a regular launchpad. So, yeah, well, let's see. I guess we'll see what happens very soon. But the nature of the way that things trade the nature of the way how things trade on Robinhood is, or just in general, you have time to put these trades on. Like, sure, this will instantly trade. One way or another, there's going to be action in this in 40 minutes, but you'll have the opportunity to, if it's not a launchpad, you'll have the opportunity to buy this, and then a few minutes or hours later, other people will be slow into it and coming in and be like, "Oh, it's not a launchpad. Oh, this thing should go higher," and you will actually make money and make an early print, even if you're just in it for a short-term flip. So, I just think there's a lot of opportunity like these on chain right now, because there's not really very many people who are dialed in on this stuff, especially Robinhood. Solana is so saturated, and it's just meme coins, like stuff like this, where you can actually use the mid-curve part of your brain and find opportunities. I think, if you're really dialed in, you can actually just sit there and trade this stuff around. I'm not going to do anything myself because I think I got good print buying this yesterday. I bought it around these levels, which I think is, let's go back to market cap. I think I managed to get something like 16, 17 million market cap yesterday. So I'm just going to sit and wait. But you can, you can really trade this stuff. You can have 10 grand ready and see the announcement. Oh, it's not a launchpad. Buy it, and within 30 minutes, you'll probably be able to sell it for a profit, and then you've probably made, some money there. So I think there are so many of these opportunities scattered across Robinhood chain where if you're a full-time trader and you have the time to lock in on this stuff, I think I do think there's money to be made. So we'll see what happens here. We'll see what happens. It's not long now, about 40 minutes, but my hunch is that it's not just a launchpad. That's my hunch. Could be wrong. But one thing you have to watch out for is it may not be just a launchpad, but the average person who doesn't do any research and just posts garbage on X may still post that it's just a launchpad. So I'd highly advise you to do your own research on it when it comes out and read it and understand it for yourself, rather than just reading the first tweet that comes out and taking that as what it is, because there is, especially within this ecosystem, especially within Robinhood ecosystem, I'm amazed at the lack of sophistication here. People are just not using their brains. People are not thinking critically. I see a couple of people have mentioned index on the stream, and I think this is a really interesting coin. I did own some of this actually a while ago, and then I sold it very quickly at a loss, obviously. But this is quite an interesting one. Okay, so what do these guys do? What's the website? The index.finance. Let's go there. Hold the index, earn stocks. So there's a 3% fee on every trading fee. And as volumes go through, that those fees go towards buying stocks. So their treasury buys stocks. And then those stocks get distributed to the token holders. So what they're saying here, hold the index, earn stocks. Now, if this is just like a pseudo meme type project and that's what you're in it for, fine. Like, that's absolutely fine, and it is what it is. But, if you're sitting there thinking that this is like the next big RWA play, it's going to change the game, all that, just because Vlad followed the X account, I think you have to think again, because tokenized stocks are all securities, right? And you know what we should do while we're here. Let's bring up the old Claude and stick this in. Let me close that. New chat. Bring this up. Okay, so look at and tell me if you have any legal concerns. And now while that's running, if you're airdropping stocks to people, you're literally giving them securities, right? And if you have a token that promises to distribute securities, if you have a token that promises to distribute cash flow, not even securities, forget securities, right? It makes that token a security. And now if you're also distributing securities, that also makes that token, definitely makes that token a security. So this is obviously not a registered security, and tokenized stocks are all securities. They're actual stocks. So, I'm sorry to break it to anyone, but this doesn't have in my book. And look, I'm not meaning to attack the team or anything like that. It's a cool protocol. It's very novel. It makes use of Robinhood's RWA stuff. But like, this is not something that's legal in the US. But these are also all US stocks, right? And I don't know. This is actually, I mean, it's not legal in the US, but you can if I close this window here, you can look at the terms and conditions, and it's actually a company. Where's the company? It's a company registered in Delaware. So it's not like this is an offshore foundation or something like that. This is a US company. So this is just, I don't think the SEC will come for these guys. It's too small for anyone to really care, and they shouldn't waste their time on things like this. But you don't have how can you have a future when you have a stock that's basically an unregistered security? And if we look at what Claude said, explains it. It's a token on Robinhood. You 3% every trade goes to an ETH, treasury of stocks, etc., etc. My concerns in order of severity. Index looks like a textbook Howey security. The entire pitch is hold it, get paid in stocks. That's an investment of money in a common enterprise with an expectation of profit derived from the efforts of others. The team that built can modify the hook, treasury, and distributor. Passive dividend-like distributions to holders are the single strongest fact pattern for an investment contract. This is categorically different from a meme coin with no cash flows. The terms even admit the mechanism may be altered by contract logic, governance, or future service changes, which underlines the reliance on managerial efforts. Categorically a security. I don't see how this is not a security, right? Possible unregistered investment company, didn't even think about that. It's a fair point. Unverified wallets. I mean, this is all other stuff as well, but like, like, I don't understand how I'm the only person who has thought about that. And I realized this from day zero, and that's why I bought it and sold it very quickly. But when I looked at the website, and there were no terms back then. But I don't understand how I'm. Not only do I get why I'm the only person who doesn't understand. Not only do I not understand why I'm the only person who is talking about this. I don't understand why people are saying the opposite. Everyone's like, "Oh, this thing's going to be a game changer, etc., etc." Like, it's not. It may work well as this kind of like fun experiment within the ecosystem, but there's no way this is scalable, right? Just because Vlad follows the token, and it felt like he did that in response to Brian Armstrong changing his PFP. Like, it doesn't legitimize it. It doesn't suddenly change securities law. So, look, I don't own this, and it's up to everyone what they do with their positions, but I wouldn't own this. I just wouldn't own it. Like, what's the upside in owning this? We're here buying these like $5, $10, $20 million market cap coins in Robinhood because we're hoping for these things to become $100, $200, $300 million market cap coins if the Robinhood chain takes off, right? And that's like the part where things scale. How can this scale? How can this participate in that? Because once it starts getting too big, then it does get on the SEC's radar, and then people are like, shit, this thing's a fucking security. So I don't think there's an upside for this. I think you could trade around, it can move higher, it can move lower, whatever, but this is not the thing I would own if I'm trying to hold the thing that's going to go to $100 million market cap. Not trying to be a dick, I'm not trying to fight anyone's bags, but what I'm saying is I'm not even like, it's not like I'm calling something out or anything like that. This is literally just the thing that everyone knows. It's a massive topic within crypto that people talk about all the time. It's a very obvious rule that is black and white in this case. Sometimes whether something's a security or not is on the radar, is on the fence, but this is pretty much black and white. And so I'm just really surprised that no one has mentioned it or is talking about it. I'm just doing it on stream so I can talk about it because I saw it mentioned a couple of times. I don't want to be the guy that puts a tweet out on it saying this thing's a fucking security, like sell it, and just be the bad guy, right? But if you're asking me on my view on it, then that's my view on it. It's a security. It's a security. It's an unregistered security. It does not have it in its current form. It does not have a future. It's an unregistered security. Can it do a 2x or a 3x from here? Sure, but like, you're always running that risk. And that's different to meme coins, right? It's clear. It's much clearer that meme coins aren't securities. This is a coin that is airdropping, promising to airdrop you securities that where the team can change the protocol. Like, so yeah, I don't know. Someone asked, is this an issue for stockbrokers? I personally haven't spent a lot of time looking at stockbrokers, but if you are, do you guys know, let's bring up Claude again real quick. I guess we can, I don't want to, I know a lot of the guys are in stockbrokers. I don't want to just, fuck it. Let's have a look. This is educational for everyone, right? I'm not, look, what's the stockbrokers website? Look at this project. Thoughts. One thing I would say is you can always be in a gray area legally, and I think sometimes to do really well, you have to take legal risk on things. I'll check PONS, but PONS doesn't distribute any proceeds to token holders. They just do buybacks, right? But I will check PONS next, just to be fair. But sometimes you have to take legal risk to do well, and then if those risks become clear in your favor, then you crush it. And I think, I guess that's what Polymarket and Kalshi did, right? Like, they started doing it when it wasn't fully legal, and then they got their establishment market share, and then they killed it. So there's always sometimes there's an advantage to taking legal risk, but it just depends where you are on the spectrum. Like, are you in the gray area zone? Are you in the fully illegal zone? Are you the other end? I don't know. I don't really understand how stockbrokers works. I haven't looked into it, honestly speaking. My guess is this might fall into a gray area, which is not as bad. And is defendable. I think Index is fully in the black, black and white area where it's clearly not legal. But let's see what this says about. I guess I'll read the website while I'm waiting. See, the reason why I didn't get involved in stockbrokers is just it's quite it felt quite complicated for me to understand, and I think people will do really well on it and have made money on it, obviously, and it's a cool website, but I just don't have the time to get deep into understanding something that's beyond just buying and selling something. Okay, so buy stockbroker on the Get tab, swap from any chain. While we wait for. So, okay, so you buy a stockbroker, you trade for a broker, so you buy an NFT, I guess. Yeah, see, okay, wait, before I go back, Claude has come back on it, and I think this looks much better than Index. So, much more legally engineered, which tells you something in itself. So here's the model. So you buy each NFT. You see, this is why I don't own this, because for me it's too complicated, and a lot of people in our Discord will be like, you need to get on, you need to get involved in it, etc. But I think there's lots of ways to make money, and there's lots of ways to trade, and I think my view is you should do more of what makes you money and less of what doesn't. And I think I've been involved in lots of these different crypto experiments and that kind of stuff in the past, and I've just never made money on them, and I spend a lot of time on them, and I'm much better at just trading the normal stuff. So I think me not owning this is not an expression of disliking it, and as you can see, I'm just now figuring out what this is. But it's not the type of thing that I would typically buy because of this. And yeah, you may tell me it's not that complicated. Over, you can understand it. You're not a dumb person. I agree, but I like things with an easier narrative where, you know, the average person can just get it and ape straight away without having to be like, what's the stuff? But anyway, so so the NFT AMM charges a trade fee. 70% goes to a stock booster. So if you stake and you have different tiers of staking, paying activation fees and stockbroker, then when anyone hits clock in, that pot gets swapped into Robinhood stock tokens. Credited pro rata. Yeah, you see, I didn't realize it was stock tokens. I thought you were getting other stuff, but with the worst aggravating factors. State entity receiving pro rata distribution tokenized equities funded by protocol. Yeah, I mean, look, let's get. I know people have been asking me to get Simple Farmer on. Let's get him on and let's talk about this stuff. And I'll do my background. I'll do some research on it and I'll do some background on it. But at first glance, this gives me similar concerns. I haven't looked at this until now. I didn't realize you got given stocks until now, but you can't just distribute stocks willy-nilly to people, right? Like that's what I'm trying to say. You know, these are securities. These aren't just meme coins. You can't just go around being like, hey mate, oh cheers for doing this thing. Now here's some stocks. Like, I'm not disagreeing or agreeing with you whether that's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is securities law in the US. So what I'd love to do is I'd love to read through this a bit more and do some more research on it, and then get Simple Farmer on if he's willing to come on, and then we can go through it and maybe address the concerns on it. Let me do PONS as well, just to make sure I do all of them and not be fully bag biased. PONSfamily.com. Okay, now look at and tell me your legal concerns. You know, the difference between PONS and index and stockbrokers is like the former, the index and stockbrokers, they're promising to distribute proceeds to you, which those proceeds themselves are securities, right? It's the promise, and it's also giving you cash flows based on what the team is doing. Like, that's the part that I think is concerning. With PONS, if they were to distribute the fees of the protocol to you as a token holder, that would also be a concern. That would make it a security. That's a promise. That's an investment contract, right? So that's why Uniswap hasn't done it yet. And that's probably why Uniswap is waiting for the Clarity Act, because that will make it clearer. And by the way, that's one thing for PONS. One thing for stockbrokers, which might make it a little bit better, where once the Clarity Act comes out, it might make it clearer and they might be on the right side of it. And maybe they have that advantage in taking that legal risk beforehand on the hope that it comes out. I still think if you're just distributing profits, I think that's a bit more palatable than distributing stocks, because those stocks themselves are securities rather than distributing cash, which isn't a security. But I don't think I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I lost my train of thought, but let's see what this says. So it says, this one's a different animal from the last two. Pump fund style launchpad Robinhood, no bonding curve, tokens launched straight to Uniswap, free flow, blah, blah, blah. Honest assessment, this is materially the cleanest of the three sites you've shown me. No tokenized equities, no distributions to holders, and the drafting is competent. Buyback and burn is obviously the main securities question. It's softer than paying distributions, and burns have generally attracted less enforcement attention than dividends. There you go. I guess, like, create a table to rank the 3 in terms of legal risk. Put very brief, concise bullet points for each one. But that's another reason why I prefer PONS over the other things, right? Like, much less legal risk. And again, like, the average person on Robinhood chain is not thinking about any of this. I don't know why. I don't know. Why would you think about this for, the same guys will talk about clarity acts and hyperliquid and this kind of stuff, and then they'll be like, oh, index. It's just like, mate, why are you not applying the basic level of logic that you need to apply to this chain as well? Maybe it doesn't matter right now because all this stuff is quite small, but if you think it's going to get big, then it does matter. And if you think about things that you want to see Robinhood support, well, Robinhood has a legal team. They can only support some things within. They can only support things that are legally sound. This is it. This is it for me. Like, call me a boomer, call me a tradfi loser, or whatever you want to call me, but this is how I look at and analyze things, and this is how I'll trade, and this is how I'll take positions. So, this is not to say, by the way, that these two things can't go higher. It's not to say these two things can't outperform PONS. They could well do, and they probably will. Maybe they will, and they have done at points in time as well. Because, like, unless someone comes in and says, "Hey, here's a what's it called when you get served a notice from the security? I forgot what it's called. One from the SEC. Served a notice from the SEC. Wells notice, yeah. Unless they get a Wells notice, then it's fine. The other thing is, like, if they've geo-blocked certain jurisdictions, so they're like, okay, this is not available in the US, etc. So it looks like they have geo-blocked the US for stockbrokers, so that's good. Index is a US company, so that's not good. So that's one thing if you've actively geo-blocked, so you're not falling under US law. But yeah, it's you can read it for yourself. You can do your own research. You can put this into Claude. I haven't done anything crazy here. I've just put in the websites into Claude and asked what the legal risks are. And there we go. But I didn't even think about being concerned about this, but granted, I'm not that familiar with it. This, for me, when I looked into it it was one of those things where I just aped it and then looked into it and I was like, fuck, why did I do that? And then I sold it immediately. But this is not something I would buy the index for me personally. Up to you what risks you want to take. Everyone likes to take different types of risks, but I feel like my bet for my trade, for the risk that I'm trying to take, is I really do believe the Robinhood ecosystem is going to continue to grow. I really do believe by the end of the year, you're going to see multiple $100 million plus coins on Robinhood. Hopefully we see, see some $1 billion coins on Robinhood. That would be great. But I really do believe we'll see that. And I think you can put on trades now where you'll be able to make that money and get those 10x's, right? But that's kind of what I'm trying to do, rather than flick between the token of the day. One day stockbroker guys will shit on PONS, the next day the PONS guys will shit on stockbrokers. Like, I don't really care about the tribalism of it. I'm just trying to get the right trade that will benefit from the growth of the Robinhood ecosystem, which to me means, is it scalable? That has to be from a tech side, it has to be from a creativity side, but it also has to be from a legal side for it to be scalable. And number two, how likely is it to get Robinhood ecosystem support? Robinhood have announced another venture fund. They're probably going to invest in some of this stuff. Rialto is something that they've invested in and is an ecosystem partner. So, how likely is it that they can get investment from Robinhood? Again, the legal factors are a concern there, because the Robinhood investment team, which is probably a bunch of TradFi people, and they'll go through due diligence, they'll go through legal risks. They're not going to think like the average Robinhood trencher or meme coin guy who's just going to be like, click, hey, move on. You know, that's not how it works. So that's kind of how I'm trying to think about it, and that's why I don't own any of the other stuff and I just own PONS, because I don't see Cashcat. I mean, we should talk about Cashcat actually, because that one's run, and sadly, that's the only other meme I would own. And obviously, I don't own any of it. I really did not trade this well because does anyone have this problem on deck screen where when you search for a token, it doesn't come up? Pretty annoying. Let's see. Here we go. Get rid of Claude. So yeah, this has been pumping. I think I saw something like there's been 2 or 3 buyers who've put in $700K to $1 million plus into it. And yeah, it's up 40% in the last 24 hours. I bought this around these at these levels actually last time, and I ran it up to all the way to the highs. Didn't sell it obviously, and ended up selling it flat, and then bought back lower, and then ended up selling it even lower. But my fear was that this could get vamped by other stuff, etc. You know, the classic fears you'd see on meme coins. These guys got a Bybit spot listing today. There's 2 ways to read it, and I think it's bullish. And remember, I don't own any of this. I'm completely flat Cashcat. If anything, because I don't own it and I sold it, I'd want it to fail. But I don't want it to fail. I don't want people to lose money. But I think when you get not Bybit spot listing, Bybit perps listing. So when you get a perps listing, people perceive it to be bearish because it means those who hold a lot of coins can basically go short on perps and then start dumping spot, and then the whole thing crashes basically. And that's actually what happened with Cashcat. It happened when they got hyperliquid perps, and then the entire thing just got crashed down basically. So that has already happened once. And the reason why I did like it is it just feels like the team behind it, or the people who are whales in it, they have some levers to pull, because to get onto hyperliquid perps is pretty tough. Rekt's not on hyperliquid perps, right? And they say you need community demand to do it, but there's many coins out there that do a lot of volume. They're never able to get a hyperliquid perps listing, and these guys got it. And I haven't seen hyperliquid perps on a meme coin for a long, long time. So that tells me there's someone in this, or running it, or whatever, who has a bit of weight they can pull and throw around, which is bullish. Second thing is obviously Bybit perps listing. To pull that off, you need to have the capital for listing fees. You need to know the right people. They don't just go and list everything. And generally speaking, if you follow, I think we've all forgotten about the path of listings because it's a bear market. But when you follow the path, it usually starts with like Bybit perps, then eventually you get Bybit spot, which is good, and then you get Binance perps and eventually Binance spot. So you sort of had this like chain of listings that you need to get before you get to the big ones. And so these guys are kind of on, I think they have KuCoin spot as well, so they're kind of on that path. So let's see what happens. It could be that they just use it as another exit liquidity thing, which could well happen. Alternatively, that could be one milestone in the journey to getting better listings and doing more for this token. But for me, Cashcat is kind of increasingly staking its claim as the #1 meme on Robinhood. And yeah, the reason why I brought it up is because I'm trying to figure out what I can own on this chain, where if I held it for 6 months and the chain exploded over 6 months, the coin would categorically be higher. It would categorically benefit from it. And I still believe that's going to be a really big opportunity. I think it's going to be a really big opportunity going forward. So, yeah, let's see what happens with this in terms of listings, and let's see if there are any more new coins that come out. I think Rialto is one to watch out for. I guess you can farm that if you trade on Rialto. Maybe you can farm it if you launch coins on Varo, which is their launchpad. but that's a Robinhood ecosystem partner, so that's an interesting one. That doesn't have a token yet, but there's probably going to be more as time goes on. I'm sure there are going to be more infrastructure plays on here, not just meme coins, and it just feels like a good bet for me. What I said in our pro Rekt Markets pro chat yesterday was, you can buy the coin that has the highest market share on Robinhood right now, and it still does, PONS. And yesterday it was what, $16-17 million market cap, and that's despite everything. It's despite all the FUD, despite all the delays, etc., etc. It still has highest market share, 62% market share of fees in the last 24 hours. Right. The next highest is Noxa. This is from the cash cap volumes, 28%. This is why it would be awesome if we could have a runner on PONS, $100 million runner on PONS. PONS would absolutely fly. That's what we need, because it would generate so much fees. And that's it's also like another reason to own PONS, because you don't have to then guess what the runner is. You get exposure to it from owning PONS, and it's not like PONS is a $100 million coin. It's a $20 million coin. So you have that convexity and upside too. The next house is Stomp Brokers. I think this must come from the DERP token. I think that was launched from there. I'm not really sure. But this is still dominating despite everything. And this has now been dominating for what, 2-3 weeks, almost a month. So you can buy this, a coin that is the highest market share launchpad on Robinhood for $20 million market cap. It just feels silly to me to not have exposure to that. If this changes over time, which it could do, and it has been dropping, this was 75% earlier, now it's 66%. And if this goes down sub 50, sub 40, then yeah, sure. But that's why for me, these numbers are more important. Like all these fees, market share, multiples, these numbers for me are way more important for judging whether I want to hold or sell than seeing a different coin rally, or seeing a new coin come, or seeing another launchpad come. Like, everyone's like, oh, so many launchpads, great. Look at the market share of all these fucking launchpads, man. 1.3%, 0.7%, 0.1%, 0.1%, 0.1%, 0.1%, 0%. Others 20, 0.0%, right? Like Sushi Launchpad 5.7. Sure, you can have more launchpads, right? But unless they are actually taking market share, it's not that relevant. And the longer that this keeps the market share, while more of these guys come, the more it reinforces that this is going to be the number one, I think. So again, people are just saying shit. People are just saying shit on the timeline without putting any degree of critical thinking into it, without putting any thought into it. And that's what I think that's where I think the opportunity is in Robinhood. I don't think people are thinking about this stuff in a logical way. And yeah, logic is not the best way to make loads of money in crypto. But to me, this presents an opportunity, because if it does take off, if they're bringing more capital into the ecosystem, you will get bigger guys, institutional capital coming in, buying the stuff, and they're going to be like, okay, what can I buy in this that generates cash flows? What's the thing to buy? And guess what? Tons of VCs and institutional guys are in pump fund because they like the cash flow metric, and they like the fact that the multiple is low. Lots of VCs and institutional guys are in hyperliquid because they like the 98%, fees going towards burning the token, and they like the cash flow it generates, right? So if that's your mind, if that's how you think, right, and you've got those two investments in your VC portfolio, then you come to Robinhood and you're like, okay, what can I buy? And someone can't just go and buy $1 million worth of PONS now. The thing would absolutely rip. There's not enough liquidity. It's very early. But if they come and look at this stuff and think, okay, what can I buy? Let me run the numbers and everything. You run the numbers and everything, and you see that PONS sticks out like a sore thumb. Crazy low multiple below 1, and highest market share, and it's a business model that is proven and works on Solana with pump fund. So I think this is my view. Again, this is an opportunity for someone like me, a retail investor, who has the ability to buy this stuff early and take that risk on this stuff early. This this is early days and all this stuff, and all of it could crash. Who really knows? But it's an opportunity for me to come in early and be like, okay, let me get in and buy this ahead of these guys, because if this does do really well, then the move from it going to 100 to 200 or 300 or 500, if it keeps generating fees, is much easier, because the capital exists for a protocol like this. People invest in this kind of stuff, and people have seen this kind of stuff before, and this kind of stuff exists elsewhere. So it's very easy for people to do relative value analysis, to run comparables. And if someone has seen the story before, they're more likely to feel confident in investing in it, because they're like, cool, I've seen the story before. I know the game. I know the launchpad thing. It's not going to take me much to convince my CIO to sign this off. Let's put money into it. You see, like, you know, all these things that I've mentioned, there isn't really any other token on Robinhood that has the same stuff that I've spoken about. Maybe there's some other stuff that I've missed, and I had some DMs from projects asking me to take a look, and I will. But that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for, really. Like, can you explain this in one sentence to a $100 million VC? If you can, you're great, and you probably can. You know, most VCs will either have owned one of Hyperliquid or Pump Fund, and they probably own both. So this is not a hard pitch to these guys, right? It's not a hard sell. It's easy to explain, and it is levered to the growth of the Robinhood ecosystem. But can you explain some of the other projects in one go? You know, it's the answer is not definitively yes, and that's not to say other stuff can't do well, but I have in my mind, I have created a set of things I want to see from a project or a coin to give it the ability to be scalable, and PONS hits that criteria. The other stuff doesn't. So up to everyone what they do. I'm not telling you to buy something. I'm not telling you to sell something. I'm just trying to highlight my line of thinking, trying to highlight what I perceive to be legal risks, what I perceive to what I like and what I dislike. And no, I may not be right. I could be wrong. The last few days I've been wrong, right? I'm not telling you that this is going to work out, but I'm just telling you how I'm thinking about it. That's the goal for me, really. Just to tell you how I'm thinking about it, and then it's up to everyone, each individual, to make their own trading decisions and own it. You know, it's your responsibility to do your own research. Part of doing research is getting thoughts from other people and what they think, and factoring all those things into your decision making. Anyway, let's see what. Let me get this. We're 1 minute away from pools.trade, so let's see what this is all about. Imagine this thing comes up and it just says Uniswap launchpad. Just feel like, after that fucking speech I gave you guys about PONS, I think I would just rage quit the stream. Just rage quit the stream at 12 o'clock. But let's see what this is. I guess it's worth getting this website up too, right? Pools. Knowing how launches go, I don't know. I wonder if this works right on the timer. Let's see. Probably does. Okay, coming soon. No, don't do this to us. Oh, motherfuckers. Oh, man. Let's see, is anyone saying anything about this on the timeline? Wow, I just scrolled. I promise you, my feed is not usually just chicks taking photos of themselves. Obviously, the one time I scroll through it is. I don't see. Let's see. You guys see anything? All right. Well, we'll have to wait and see if. I guess we'll have to wait and see what it is. I will. What I'll do is I promise you, I do not have a thirst trap algo. I really promise you, I do not. It just so happened that I just three thirst traps came up on my screen, and this doesn't count as a thirst trap because it's like a joking thing, right? But also, I don't know if you guys see the same thing, but like if you accidentally click on one thirst trap, then I feel like the thirst trap algo is so powerful that your entire feed becomes thirst traps. Compared to if you click on one like actual smart thing, you have to click on like 10 of them to get that to your algo. I think the algo is skewed towards thirst traps. But okay, what I'd like to do is I will promise you I accidentally click on them. It's not like not intentional. What I will do is I will I'm going to read about stockbrokers, and I'll come up with some good questions, and then if Simple Farmer is willing, I'll send him a message and see if we can get him on stream and go through it all. At least I should do my research on it, even if it's not going to be one for me to get involved in. But I feel like people want to hear it, and I think lots of our community have been asking for it. So I will do it. I'll do it, and we'll go through it. But anyway, let's call it a day. Enjoyed that stream. Cheers, guys, for tuning in. And let's see if we can find out what the fuck pools.trade is in the next few minutes. All right, call it there. See you guys.